Good morning. I'm Professor Linda Keene from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I want to thank the Innovative School Network virtual conference for the invitation to share with you today sustainable and equitable cities. So if you'll give me a moment, I'll share my screen and we shall get started. Sustainable and equitable cities begin by cultivating natural and civic imagination in our youth. We live in a designed world, nature's and our own. We now know that the world is finite and we need to support human sustainability for growing populations. Best of all, we know that our imagination is infinite and we as humans can collaborate and work together to find new ways of living. On the top are the 9 connected scales of the activities of an e-learning resource I'm going to introduce to you, but they're also the connected scales of human intent on Earth. Nanotechnology is the industrial revolution coming right along. Patterns in nature and in the built environment. Objects that we can identify, name, learn from, assimilate. Spaces where we live, learn, work, and play. Buildings that shelter us from the climate. Neighborhoods that give us community. Cities that give us all the possibilities, regions, and the world. We may not be able to build the future for our youth, but we certainly can build our youth for a better future. The presentation today is in 3 parts. Part 1 is about green homes, where we live. Part 2 is about green schools, where we learn. And part 3 is about green cities, where we can discover our dreams. The e-learning resource is NEXT.cc in its 15th year, spreading curiosity and compassion. There are the 9 scales. You can Google at any time during this presentation, starting now on your phone, iPad, or computer. You can scroll over the scales, pick one or any combination of scales. Then you can choose your subjects or any combination of subjects, and you will see the journeys toggle down below. There are 4 types of journeys. The green are tools, things that anyone can use to observe the world, interact with the world, and contribute to the world. Languages are vocabulary, principles, and sets of ideas directly from K-12. Discovery is a gentle introduction to systems thinking. So if I'm considering or contemplating one condition, I will find that it's overlapping with several other conditions through time, through proximity, and so on. And then finally, design opportunities. Every child in K-12 deserves the opportunity to use their imagination in design. These are a few of the journeys that we're going to share with you today. So let's get started. Part 1, green homes. Let's start with kindergartens to 2nd graders. Ask parents of these young children, could they contribute a dollhouse for a while? And have the students begin to study that dollhouse and think of ways the dollhouse can save energy. See a water barrel to collect rainwater. I see a green roof up here to sustain the roof for longer and provide biodiversity of place. I see operable windows for fresh ventilation. I see inside there's Madeline, or it could be Lego, or it could be Lego, or it could be Playmobil. Changing light bulbs to now LED, turning the water off, insulating pipes, using Energy Star appliances, and more. While their children are working on this, parents, you can take your home energy yardstick and take a look at it through the Energy Star site, which is one of the 30 resources listed under Green Home. You can also look up your carbon footprint and see what the average footprint per household is in your area. This inspiration for K2-year-olds came from Jamie Lerner, a former mayor of a city in Brazil. He started with urban acupuncture, or initiating processes and participation with the public that would make the city more sustainable. He taught 4-year-olds how to recycle and their teachers. To this day, his city is the city that recycles the most in Brazil. So let's get started. Let's learn about greening a home. It all starts where the home is located, the biome, the climate, but it mostly comes from the energy of the sun as the driver of all life on Earth. And so where the path of the sun is in the morning, in the east or the west, or reverse down below, or the summer solstice or the winter solstice, do you want the bright sun in your garage, or do you want it in your breakfast room and your bedroom to wake you up? You can use the journey site analysis or the journey site programming to decide where you want things in relation to north, south, east, west, and the movement of the sun. You can look at the rain that falls on the site and decide how it will run off, how you will collect it, and how you will filter it with natural means. You can look at rainwater harvesting and rain gardens to help you. I ask students to trace this drawing. It doesn't take that long. And amazingly enough, I asked them to find the grass that grows on their lawn of their school. Here it is. So right there on the left, and that's often in some schools, they still use herbicides and pesticides, weed killer and that, and then they water it and mow it, and these are the roots. But look at the beauty of what was here in the Midwest before, when Native Americans lived here. There were beautiful prairies and oak savannas. Not only were the flowers and the colors of these varied and beautiful, but it was the work underground that is the incredible contribution to the health of our world. It's the root system that aerates the soil, allows room for worms and bugs to decompose and create a new level of enriched nutritionalized topsoil. You can look at landscape or grass journeys to expand your knowledge. Water inside the house. How many of you took a shower this morning? How many of you use a hot water tank that keeps your water hot even the hours you're sleeping, 352 days of the year, 24 hours a day? Why are we using that energy to do that? Why don't we use the EU system of hot water on demand? I need it to do dishes now. I need it to do a bath at 7 o'clock at night. I need to do it laundry on Saturday. It's a huge energy savings. And energy savings and use of renewable energies is key for our future. Ventilation. The heating, ventilating, and cooling systems of contemporary society do have a fresh intake requirement by code. But the truth of the matter is some of the things we bring into our homes, carpets and clothing and sheets and other things, have been coated with fire protective materials, or they off-gas volatile components. It's determined that the inside of buildings is often 100% dirtier than the outside air. Yes, there are areas near industry that the reverse is true, and those are being studied now under environmental racism to clean the air and clean the soil. But basically, we start with all passive systems first before we introduce active system, and the passive system is to open a window on one side of your house and on the other, and a breeze will come through. Or following the way heat rises, putting an open window lower in the house and one higher in the house. So now we're back to the summer sun, but this time to vegetate. In this climate, you like to plant deciduous trees that shade your house so it doesn't get too hot in the summer, and then also cooling with breezes, and then also evergreen trees to block the cold northwest winds. Come inside. This is another 4-year-old, but this time in Germany, that can actually look at the wall section journey and the roof section and tell you which one he, she, or they would build their house with, because they understand the value of having an insulated, warm house. The R value is the resistance factor from the change of the outside to our comfort level on the inside. Other strategies are to consolidate or make your house more compact, because then it's not so far for the plumbing to go or the heating or the electrical. You can also now choose from many materials that are renewable, recyclable, and reusable. You can study housing types, housing styles, homes around the world. and green materials. Activating is where we connect clean energy and renewable energy, hopefully stimulated and organized by smart grids. In the handout, we offer a PDF on green homes for students to use in plan and in section. They can make their own drawn dollhouse. We also link to many, many resources about zero net energy. So in green building journeys, students go out around their city and research what green buildings have been built recently and what they offer. It also raises awareness to the amount of energy consumption, water consumption, landfill waste that our built industry uses and how it's doubling. And to counter that, a wonderful organization, Architecture 2030, which is attempting to be carbon neutral by 2030, offers a free system called the Palette, which helps people learn about how resilient built environment and sustainable practices. But we can always start with water. It purifies air, or nature. It purifies air, uses rainwater, restores silence, produces its own soil, consumes waste, is beautiful, and we can compare it to the built environment and find ways to improve. We realize now that our health and well-being of people is connected to nature and to our built environment. Starting again with maybe third graders or on up, let's draw buildings like bodies. We can use our face. The French word facade or visage is the front of the building. The top of the building is the roof of your head. The eyes are windows. Your nose is ventilation, and the mouth is waste management and nutrition in and out. You can also then do a word match of the types of systems between the two. In middle school, where you study this in health, you can actually draw the systems. By the time you get to high school, students can be introduced to what structure looks like and what the options are, what heating, ventilating, electrical, and plumbing systems actually look like. And you can introduce them to those careers. It only takes about a year to be an official plumber, and it comes with a very nice salary. Now, when we look at cities and well-being, from the Stockholm Accord of 2011, we find that the water, food, energy nexus are a triumvirate that contribute to the health and the continuity of human life. This is a great video and animation, which is very clear even for young children to watch, that we can no longer think of water separately from food and from energy. They are interconnected. We're about to publish 3 journals that students can purchase and use alongside while they're going and studying these topics. The journeys and the e-learning website are set to North American environmental education standards, art and design standards, and next generation standards that seeks to offer cross-cutting concepts. But notice that they look at environment and society, they look at personal and civic responsibility, connections with community, decision-making, ability to critically think. There's overlap. One of the sites that is on the earth and on well-being is from OXFAM. It's called The Donut. It's the safe and just space for humanity within the atmosphere and the social and just space for everyone on earth. So we look at our progress, that's the orange, we're getting closer to educating more people. More people live a higher quality of life now than ever before. More people have access to fresh water than ever before. Food is abundant on earth, it's just getting them to people. It's the social and equitable aspects we have to work on more. In addition, there are breaches already of the atmosphere, including the nitrogen and phosphorus cycle upset, the breach of climate change, and biodiversity loss. Human changes in the way things operate can help support this. So we ask students from really 4th grade on to fill this out, to show what's outside and what's inside, up to humans to change. We share the well-being triangle. where students put the first 3 things that are important to them: first air, then water, then food, and then up the ladder of Maslow's triangle of self-esteem, social acceptance, safety, and self-realization. Then we ask them to do that for bees, trees, birds, and people on other sides of the earth, because we are all in this together. Okay, take a breath. Part 2, green schools. How can this be applied to where our children learn? We're going to look inside the school, outside on the school campus, and we're going to ask students to give us inspiration. This is an afternoon workshop on 3rd graders redesigning their classroom. So let's see. First, they designed a design.
Machine. I'm Jack and I want to design houses. I'm Ashley and I want to design a public toilet. My name is Mila and I want to design a mini model of the Flatiron Building.
Amazing. They all have ideas. Where did those ideas go throughout their rest of their schooling? So let's give them a chance, and here's what they came up with. The interactive, they self-split into 3 different teams. One had the floor, one had the surround, and one had the overhead. I'm going to go through this more quickly and explain. They came in and wanted to walk on an interactive map that would introduce the subjects of the day, and then when they left for lunch or for recess, they would actually be quizzed on and able to make answers on that spot. You'll see that the desks have been folded up because today is Friday, and instead of just wear your jammies to school, it's picnic day in the classroom. So there are green swaths of carpet to sit on the floor, soft cotton pillows, some trees, cotton rooms to relax. It's informal learning at its best. The wall team were amazing. Let's start at the bottom. They have a green wall because we know that plants purify the air within a room. Then you can exercise right by the place that you're getting the most oxygen. You can delight and daydream with the fish swimming under the water. You can record your presentation for social studies in front of a green screen. Coming up, you can grab your sports equipment going to the gym or to the playground. We all need books still, even with the internet, a TV or a projection screen to watch all of the videos that can quickly wake us up and get us organized and ready to learn about something. And they actually had an interactive globe. That's what's starting here. So it could spin and they could stop and learn about any country and culture in the world. These were all their own ideas. And this is the ceiling group. The ceiling team decided that the other teams were doing so great that they had to do one major thing, so that when you're sitting there in school and you have to sit at a desk for too long of a time, you're getting a little drowsy, you can just look up and then you wake up and you realize you have to be focusing and you have to be creative. Okay, so here it is, the whole room and ideas for the future. And these kids, without a question, just presented this to several tens of hundreds of people in a conference. And the girl that's speaking into the speaker, she said, I never had an experience like this in my life. She was the filmmaker, catching the joy of the students working on redesigning their classroom. So now we're going to step outside. We're going to go with 4th graders, and we're going to reimagine the asphalt playground as a nature space.
Students are placed in the driver's seat as they redesign the space in which they play, exploring ideas about what it is to play. Whether dramatic, active, or creative, play can be a well-known game or completely imaginary.
And so just like architects, they do a site analysis to see where the sun moves, where they're in shade. They also imagine what could go there, what was there before when indigenous people lived in this area. Well, there were prairies. So they cut pictures. It's just cut pictures or Xerox. They have the oak savannas and they're shocked that it actually used to look like that. And then they decide they want some hills and slides and fun things to run around on. So they're introducing some of the things that they traditionally play with, but they're actually being asked to imagine new ways of playing, and with different age groups and even with community members.
Students use word webs, site maps, and site programming to become aware of where they are. They tell the time from sun and shadows, planning active and passive, open and intimate, wet and dry areas connected by paths and destination points.
And so they put it all together, and they knew where it was wet. They knew there was a good view, where it was noisy, where they wanted some privacy. They knew where smaller play areas and bigger open play areas should go. And then they went out and tested it outside.
Most importantly, students are encouraged to draw nature back into play.
Joy of design at all scales. Now remember that asphalt parking lot? Which one's more exciting to come to? Not something that was a kit of part ordered, but actually a site-specific design to what belongs there. Really interesting work that needs to continue all across the country. Now we know that many people develop maker spaces, and they're often the classroom at the end of the hall. The important part is that maker spaces can exist across the campus, inside buildings and outside in the landscape. We often consult with schools of how do we bring wellness inside and outside? How do we change it from what it is? So these are some examples of a culinary school that teaches cooking, restauranteering, and food production. Fine arts and performing arts studio of painting, singing, drawing, dancing, engineering and design, where they build and construct and test. The wellness, where they can have yoga mats outside as well as inside. Media, where they can produce all kinds of virtual stories, animation, films, and so on. And then transition, where many of the students can actually get job training before they leave school. Again, always remember in design to ask nature.
NEXT.cc. Empowering students through design. One school. One old building. One new building. One biomimicry workshop. In this workshop, students use principles of biomimicry in a collaborative setting to redesign the environment in which they learn. Students look at natural patterns in dynamic flow. Studying the composition of spatial layout, students brainstorm spaces for greeting, meeting, performing, socializing, and eating. Students investigate biomimicry-themed advising spaces. Whether creative, scientific, or merely cathartic, students draw upon human ergonomics and experience of space, exploring how their school culture, technology needs, and learning environments shape design responses. Students learn about solar energy. They design a rooftop experience while learning about solar panel placement, layers, and types of green roofs. Then, students digitally model their new buildings in Google SketchUp. Finally, students present these ideas to the group, exploring functional relationships within systems and setting their imaginations in motion. NEXT.cc.'s Biomimicry Workshop empowers students, teachers, and school districts to creatively use design-based thinking in recreating 21st century learning experiences. As always, students and teachers retain free access to our e-learning resource. Visit Next.cc to learn more.
And moving on to safe schools. Here's a group of Chicago Public School teens who came together one afternoon to design safe schools. A word map is a wonderful way to generate ideas, what it means to feel like when you're safe. What spaces do you feel safe in? And then why is this important to you? So the students filled out their word maps, and their discussions were really had a lot of reflection and a lot of things about where they wanted to have fun and they felt comfortable and not tense and worried. And then this group who've never been together came together and designed in about an hour a 2-story school with terraces on the second floor, so you could be outside looking out over the city, was powered by a skylight, a solar panel skylight. Light flooded the hallway, which was extra wide. There was a mezzanine upstairs and a wide central hall down below, connecting both of, there was a clock so that they would be on time and make sure they could catch their bus home. The corners of the hallway, there were stepped stairs that could be used as a theater, but also were wide enough for people to sit down while other people were walking up and down. And between all the classrooms, there was a green space outside, and the colors they wanted bright and cheerful.
On the block, we got everybody off and see the principal.
Coming inside, Green Schools starts by looking at where our children learn. You form a team of children, students, teachers, and school board members, and then also volunteer professionals in the community. You assess the school working with the building manager. You find out how much energy is being used. You take a survey of all the teachers. How many appliances do they have in each room? Is there any redundancy? You also survey the faculty for how they are teaching the environment and sustainability in their subjects. And then you make a plan. And that plan can be implemented through a referendum, through a PTA funding, or for school and community efforts. We have added a Green Your School worksheet to the handout today. And we can now see it in action with an ESL school here in Milwaukee of students who don't have any art and no chance at making. Next.cc offers design workshops for young imaginations. We're here for 2 short hours to talk to you about taking this, your brain, and merging it with world thinking. Inhabit the world. Look closely for patterns. What makes food grow? Well, plants.
In this case, your school, your family, people around you.
Imagine a green school.
As a ranger, so
So see what can happen when imagination is given opportunity. Here's a full-fledged green school, one of the first green ribbon schools in Wisconsin. Started with urban ag beds with donated lumber and soil, which is an easy, probably supportive get from Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot. The community planted and they rent plots at $25 for the summer to pay for the water to keep them liquidated. The students made a model that showed the potential of a green roof, the asphalt playground with water filtering trees with bioswales and rain gardens around them, and then wind vanes and solar panel and solar thermal to heat the pool. This is about a 15-year-old project, and it all ended in the water filtering athletic field with a new stadium. And this was the first in the state, and it was really remarkable. So there are many ways to begin to interact with the environment in our classrooms and our schools. So let's see, part 3, how we can bring this all together. Nature has a circular metabolism. So it creates something, it uses it, decomposes it, reuses it. We want to bring that same circular metabolism into the built environment. We often start with the city with a river because most settlements started where there was a source of water, fresh water, and hopefully clean and pure water. We ask the students then to find examples of the industrialized city where they live, either through factory or through downtown, and to draw it. And then ask which one produces the most fresh air and filters the water. We bring teachers onto the first green roof in Chicago. Now they are happily 5,000 of them. And to try to explain how the habitat reintroduces biodiversity of life, it cools the air and offsets the heat island effect. It actually takes care of the roof in many ways and elongates its lifespan, and it's beautiful. So we ask students to learn what the difference between intensive and extensive green roofs are, what the layers are and what they each do, and then to research and draw plants for growing. And then start to take a map of their city, an aerial map, and take those flat roofs and make them green. And then list the benefits. So the idea in the future is to change the metropolis cities that we live in now, which is a lot of goods in and a lot of waste out, to minimize that by organic recycled waste and material waste recycled and reused. Along with this momentum was an earlier report by the National Governors Institute, New Engines of Growth, enhancing the arts, culture, and design of the location of a city and of the people who live there. It's more local in our global economy. And so we also look at all the other plans of many cities around the world that are planning to be more sustainable too. And these are maps of Paris showing that there is a bookstore within a 5 or 10 minute walk. There's an outdoor basketball playground. There's an indoor swimming pool. There are places to listen or learn music. There are cultural centers like museum and so on, so that all of this is equitable across the city.
In Chicago in 1911, 8th grade public school students were given a copy of the Wacker Manual, an urban primer for municipal economies. Like the Wacker Manual's sharing of great designers of great cities, today's primer introduces sustainable systems as ways to connect the ecology of place with people. In 2016, students are given access to NEXT.cc.eLearning Designopedia to imagine cities of the future. Girls think about balancing a compass with nature, well-being, economy, and society. As global populations seek new opportunities in urban areas, girls think about making cities that work like nature, with living systems like the ones that work in their bodies. Girls are charged with providing clean water, local food, and renewable energy and creation of walkable, mixed-use, mixed-income, place-based neighborhoods. Girls form teams and select a site to begin building. beside rivers surrounded by wetlands, woodlands, and prairies. They place single-family farmhouses using NEXT.cc.eLearning Green Home Journey. They create farm communities powered by alternative energy sources. Girls choose leadership roles and travel to meet with career mentors to prepare their cities. Mayors talk about responsibilities: listening, thinking, writing, speaking, collaborating, and leading. They learn about their envisioning and governing a city. Mayors choose buildings with iconic identities. Health and well-being leaders provide clean water, local food, and walkable neighborhoods. Civil engineers build main streets and connect walking paths, bikes, buses, cars, trucks, water taxis, and airplanes. They incorporate renewable energy sources to power their cities. Housing directors select different housing styles and types to establish and diversify neighborhoods. Commercial developers create commercial corridors where people can purchase the supplies, services, and systems they need to live, work, learn, and play. Girls place varied green spaces as public plazas, parks, playgrounds, recreation areas, and open lands. Education directors place learning environments for all ages with nature play areas throughout the city. Developers select to place business workspaces and innovation centers. Learning from mentors, girls work together. They collaborate, negotiate, and consider alternative ways of living, while thinking how they will contribute to make their city better. Girls design ecopolises.
Another thing that's special is it has lots of transportation, like the airport, the tunnel where the ships and boats go, and there is a train station. What is also unique about our city is that we have 2 rivers, we have many buildings. What's special about our town is number 1 that we all work together and we all built this town, and number 2 is our library and our education parts of the town, the city.
Empower youth voice. Give them an opportunity to use their imagination. This is the multi-generational, multinational team that contributes. Anyone can contribute to NEXT by suggesting new journeys or good links, uploading student work to the gallery, and using it to share excitement and wonder of the natural and built worlds. And then working to create environmental justice and to stop environmental racism by allowing all people to have a sustainable, walkable, opportunistic neighborhood, and using the city as a classroom. Thank you so much for your attention. You've been a great audience, and I look forward to any questions that you may have. We will discuss them. We'll turn the video off and discuss them. Thank you so much.